The legends whispered that the moon goddess once blessed Alpha Kael with a love so pure, it rivaled the stars. But on the night of the eclipse war, she died in his arms. The moment her last breath left her body, the goddess's voice thundered across the skies. For a heart that rejects fate, fate shall reject you. A curse fell upon him that night. Any attempt at forming a mate bond, even the slightest spark of affection, ended in death. Not his death, but hers. His destined partner would wither the moment he opened his heart. So Kael did the only thing a broken king could do. He swore never to love again. He sealed his emotions behind walls of steel, trained his heart to feel nothing, and ruled his kingdom with the coldness of winter itself. Years passed. His pack feared him, his enemies respected him, and the moon goddess, to protect the one woman who could break the curse, hid his true mate far from his sight. Hidden, forgotten, untouchable. Until the night everything changed. She wasn't meant to be there. Aria had fled her ravaged village under the cover of darkness, guided only by fear, hunger, and whatever hope remained in her fragile heart. Tired and trembling, she wandered into the silver pine forest, a place whispered to be forbidden to Omegas. The wind shifted, the trees held their breath. Even the moon seemed to dim as she crossed a line she was never meant to cross. And then, she felt it. A shiver. A pulse. A silent trembling in her bones like someone calling her name without sound. Her breathing caught. The air grew heavy, cold, electric. Something ancient awakened. Suddenly the forest went still, unnaturally, terrifyingly still, and from the shadowed clearing stepped a creature so massive, so feral, so impossibly powerful she froze in place. A wolf, black as midnight. Scars cut across its flank like silver lightning. Its eyes, cold, emotionless gold, locked on hers with deadly precision. Alpha Kael. But in wolf form, he looked nothing like a king. He looked like a curse given flesh. Aria's knees weakened. Her breath hitched. Her heart raced so fast she thought it might burst. The beast lowered its head, muscles coiled, eyes burning in the moonlight. Yet he didn't attack. He stopped, stared, shuddered. Something impossible was happening. The mark on Aria's shoulder, the one she had hidden her whole life, suddenly burned like fire. The Alpha staggered back. His breath came ragged. His eyes flickered violently from gold to silver, then to black. No. His voice echoed inside her mind. Deep, broken, terrified. Not again. Not her. The bond, the one the moon goddess had hidden for years, snapped between them instantly and violently. A shockwave tore through the clearing, branches cracked, birds scattered in a frantic burst. The very earth trembled beneath their feet. Aria gasped and fell to her knees, clutching her burning shoulder. Kael collapsed, claws digging into the dirt, fighting the connection with every ounce of strength he had. The mate bond roared awake like a sleeping storm, tying their souls together whether they wanted it or not. He was cursed. She was fated. And now, their bond was forbidden by the gods themselves. Kael forced himself to shift back, breath ragged, body shaking. He stared at her, this trembling, innocent Omega who shouldn't exist in his world, with a mixture of horror and desperation. "Get up," he commanded, voice raw, cracking under a weight she didn't understand. "You were never meant to cross my path." His eyes glowed with a pain deeper than death. "I vowed never to love again," he whispered, more to himself than to her. "And the goddess swore that if I did, it would kill you." Aria's heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear. Fear choked her throat. But something stronger, something ancient, held her in place. She wasn't supposed to meet him. He wasn't supposed to see her. Yet here they were, bound, doomed, chosen by the moon, and cursed by fate. They called him Alpha Kael of the Shadowcrest Pack, ruler of the Northern Kingdom, the wolf whose heart died long before his body ever could. To his enemies, he was a monster. To his pack, he was a god they feared to worship. To himself, he was nothing but a curse wrapped in flesh. Kael walked through his palace halls like a storm confined in human form. Silent, heavy, dangerous. His presence alone made warriors step aside, their eyes lowering instinctively. No one dared meet his gaze for more than a heartbeat. Because Alpha Kael did not forgive. He did not comfort. He did not love. He couldn't. His curse made sure of that. Since the night the goddess doomed him, Kael had become a man sculpted from ice and war. His emotions were locked behind iron walls he had forced upon himself to protect others and to punish himself. His people had seen what happened the last time he felt affection. They had watched an innocent woman collapse in his arms as her life faded away, her body growing cold as the curse took her breath. The kingdom still whispered her name in fear, and ever since that night, Kael's anger had become a weapon even he couldn't control. When fury rose in him, the curse amplified it, twisting it until the air thickened with violence. Wolves shifted accidentally, warriors fell to their knees, the palace shook with raw, unstable power. So his pack avoided him. Servants never spoke unless spoken to. Guards were rotated frequently to keep them from collapsing under the pressure of his aura. To them, their alpha was less of a leader and more of a walking storm. To prevent history from repeating itself, Kael enforced 3 laws across his kingdom, laws carved into stone and sworn under blood. 1. No one speaks of mates in the alpha's presence, not their own, not potential bonds, not destiny, not fate. 2. No celebrations of love or union are permitted within the palace walls, no mating ceremonies, no festivals tied to the moon goddess, no romantic songs or rituals. 3. No mention of the alpha's past is allowed under penalty of exile. His grief, his loss, his curse, all forbidden topics. The kingdom abided by these laws not from loyalty, but from fear. There was a time Kael was known for kindness, a time when he laughed with his warriors, helped his healers tend to wounds, and visited the village on moonlit nights just to hear children's stories. But now, children hid when he passed. Mothers whispered warnings not to draw the alpha's attention. Warriors swore they felt the temperature drop whenever he entered a room, because everyone believed the same thing. And Kael ensured they believed it. He wore his coldness like armor, his silence like a shield, his ruthlessness like a second skin. Anyone who dared show him affection was immediately reassigned to distant patrols. Any Omega who looked at him with longing was removed from the palace before nightfall. Kael smothered every flicker of emotion with brutal discipline. He trained until his bones trembled. He stood guard on frozen cliffs alone through entire nights. He hunted until his claws cracked. He believed pain was the only thing that still belonged to him. Love? Affection? A mate? Those things were ashes he no longer touched. In the darkest hour of the Eclipse War, just after he buried the only woman he had ever loved, Kael made a vow that echoed across the realm. My love ended once. It ends forever. From that moment, the alpha inside him went silent. His wolf withdrew into shadow, emerging only when blood was required. The moon goddess herself stopped sending visions to him. He became the king who felt nothing, the alpha who feared nothing, the man who had nothing left to lose, or so he believed. Until the night he met her, until the night the forbidden bond ripped through his world and pulled a trembling Omega into his cursed orbit. Until the night Aria awakened the one thing he thought had died with his first mate. His heart. Aria had always been different, though she never understood why. She was born in the quiet Moonhaven Pack, a peaceful community known for healers, herbalists, and gentle wolves who avoided conflict. Aria fit that world perfectly, soft-spoken, calm, and painfully kind. An Omega in every way except for one. The strange birthmark on her left shoulder, no one in her pack had ever seen anything like it. A crescent-shaped mark, glowing faintly under moonlight, pulsing gently whenever danger approached. Healers said it was a sign of blessing. Warriors whispered it was a sign of doom. Aria herself feared it was simply a mistake. She spent her life covering it with scarves and shawls, terrified someone would assume she carried a curse, but she had no idea how right they were. Everything changed on the night her world burned. The raid came without warning, wolves with unfamiliar markings, eyes full of madness, tearing through her home with merciless claws. Houses collapsed, screams echoed. Fires climbed toward the sky. Aria tried to fight, but Omegas were not built for battle. She ran through smoke and ash, coughing, tears staining her dirt-covered face as she watched the only home she had ever known fall into ruins. Her parents never made it out. Her healer mentor vanished in the flames. Her childhood friends, gone. All she could do was escape. Alone, trembling, and terrified, she followed the river north for days, guided by nothing but instinct and grief. Her food ran out. Her strength faded. Her hope died slowly with every step. But fate did not let her fall. Because every time she collapsed to her knees, the mark on her shoulder burned, softly, gently, pushing her forward as though the moon herself was calling her somewhere she was never meant to go. Despite her suffering, Aria carried no hatred in her heart. She cried for the wolves who attacked her pack, wondering what tragedy had twisted them. She prayed for the families who lost everything, including her own. She whispered apologies to the moon for surviving when so many others didn't. Aria was sweetness wrapped in sorrow, the kind of soul the world often broke long before it understood her value. She never imagined the world would soon place her in the path of a king who needed the very softness she tried so hard to hide. When Aria finally reached the borders of Shadowcrest, she didn't know whose territory she had wandered into. She had heard rumors, of course, a cold king, a frozen palace, a land where no one spoke of love, but she assumed they were just stories told by travelers to entertain pups around the fire. She didn't know the king was cursed. She didn't know his anger shook the mountains. She didn't know one single spark of emotion could kill his mate. She didn't know she was walking straight toward the most dangerous alpha alive. She approached the border quietly, head bowed, hands trembling as she presented herself to the guards. "I'm just looking for safety," she whispered, voice barely audible. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her clothes torn, her heart heavy. The guards exchanged a look. Shadowcrest rarely took in refugees, but something about the girl's presence, the softness in her tone, the way the moonlight clung to her, made them hesitate. "What's your name?" one guard asked. "Aria," she whispered. They let her in. They didn't know that by doing so they had brought Kael's mate into the kingdom, the very soul the moon goddess had hidden from him for years. That night, as Aria settled in the guest quarters for refugees, the strange mark on her shoulder glowed brighter than ever before. It pulsed in rhythm with something distant, powerful, familiar. She pressed a hand over it, wincing from the heat. "What is happening to me?" she whispered. She didn't know the answer. She didn't know the mark was a seal, a lock placed by the goddess herself, a key to breaking a curse older than she could imagine. She didn't. No, an alpha king would feel that same pulse rip through his soul before sunrise. She didn't know her destiny would collide with his like a violent storm. All she knew was that she was tired, alone, and praying for peace. Instead, she would soon awaken the heart of a king who vowed he would never love again. Aria didn't mean to wander so far. She had only stepped into the forest to gather water from a nearby stream, desperate to soothe her dry throat. But as she walked deeper beneath the silver-lit canopy, the air changed, growing colder, heavier, almost watchful. She paused. A strange feeling crept over her skin, like invisible fingers brushing her neck. "Hello?" she whispered, though she knew no one would answer. The forest didn't reply. It simply waited. Unbeknownst to her, she had crossed into the Shadowcrest forbidden grounds, a place where even the bravest warriors dared not enter without permission. It was where he often roamed, where the cursed alpha sought solitude from the chaos inside him, where the goddess kept all secrets. A soft crack echoed through the trees. Aria spun around, heart thundering. The hairs on her arms rose. The mark on her shoulder pulsed. Slow at first, then faster, as though something inside her responded to something she couldn't yet see. "Is anyone there?" she asked again. The air thickened. The forest held its breath. Then, he stepped out. A massive wolf emerged from the shadows, its fur black as midnight and its eyes glowing with a cold, lethal intensity. Scars covered his flank like the remains of battles long forgotten. His size alone made Aria stumble backward, breath caught in her throat. He was not just a wolf. He was Alpha Kael, in his most dangerous form. Aria froze. This creature could crush her with a single strike. She had no weapon, no strength, no hope of escape. But instead of leaping at her, instead of tearing through her throat as instinct should have demanded, the wolf stopped dead in his tracks. His paws dug into the earth. His chest heaved once, twice. Then his entire body trembled. Aria didn't understand. Why wasn't he attacking? Why did he look terrified? The wolf's gaze locked onto her shoulder, the one with the mark. And then it happened. His eyes shifted, gold to silver, silver to black, black to an impossible glowing white, a color no wolf should ever possess. Aria cried out as the mark on her skin ignited with blinding heat, burning through her clothes, pulsing with an ancient power that nearly knocked her off her feet. The pain was sharp, but familiar, like something she had always been waiting to feel. Her breath hitched. What is happening?" she whispered. Kael's wolf stumbled backward, claws tearing into the soil as though fighting against an invisible pull. He shook his head violently, growling not at her, but at himself. "No." His voice vibrated inside her skull, rough and broken. "No, not again. Not her." Aria gasped. The words weren't spoken aloud. They echoed through her mind. For the first time in her life, she heard an alpha's thoughts. Kael tried to shift back, forced by panic, desperation, and the crushing realization of what stood before him. The one thing he feared most. The one thing the goddess had hidden from him. His true mate. He shifted halfway, bones cracking, fur receding, before collapsing onto his hands, trembling violently between forms. His breath came out in ragged gasps as he fought the pull of destiny. "Leave," he managed to snarl, his voice distorted, half wolf, half man. "You should not be here." Aria couldn't move. Her legs had turned to stone. She had no idea what this powerful, broken, terrifying creature even was. Only that he looked at her like she was the one thing that could destroy him. Kael squeezed his eyes shut, fighting the bond with every ounce of his will. "I refuse," he growled. "I refuse this bond. I will not let another die because of me." But the air around them shimmered. The trees rustled though no wind blew. A soft divine voice whispered through the forest. "Fate cannot be outrun, Kael." The goddess's magic surged through the clearing. Bright, violent, unstoppable. The bond snapped into place with a force that shook the ground beneath their feet. Aria cried out as the mark blazed like fire. Kael roared, his body arching in agony as the curse clashed with destiny. A shockwave burst outward, scattering leaves, shaking branches, sending wildlife fleeing into the night. When the light faded, Kael knelt in front of her, half man, half wolf, entirely broken. His voice cracked when he spoke, barely audible. "Why did fate bring you to me?" Aria could only stare, trembling, marked, confused. She didn't know him. She didn't know the curse. She didn't know her destiny. But she had just been bound to the most feared alpha in existence. And he would rather die than love her. Kael had faced enemies that could tear mountains apart. He had fought beasts born from nightmares, battled armies that outnumbered him 10-1, survived wounds that should have ended him. But nothing terrified him like the trembling girl standing in the moonlit clearing, his mate, his death sentence. Her wide, innocent eyes mirrored confusion, fear, and something else. Something fragile, something soft, something he did not deserve. Kael staggered away from her, clutching his chest as if trying to rip the bond out with sheer force. His breath came in harsh, uneven bursts. His vision blazed with silver light. "No," he growled, voice shaking. "This cannot be happening. Not again." Aria took a step toward him, instinct pulling her to comfort him, to understand him. He recoiled like she held a blade. "Do not touch me." His voice thundered, shaking leaves from the trees. Aria froze, heart hammering. Kael squeezed his eyes shut. He could feel her inside him now, her heartbeat, her breath, her fear. The bond pulled at his soul like a hook lodged deep in his ribs. He had forgotten how painful a new bond could be, how intimate, how unstoppable. "Leave this forest," he forced out. "Leave my kingdom, do not return." Aria blinked, confused and trembling. I don't understand." "You don't need to understand," Kael snapped. "You need to run." He turned away, every muscle trembling with restraint. He remembered the last time. The last woman, the last bond. How she screamed as the curse drained her life. How her eyes faded while he held her. How the goddess whispered, "This is the price of a heart that rejects fate." He had vowed never to feel again, never to lose again, never to kill again. And now, this fragile Omega stood before him, unaware that one slip of emotion could destroy her. Kael's voice dropped to a hoarse whisper. "If I care for you, even for a moment, this curse will take you." He slammed a fist into a tree, shattering the bark, his strength spiraling dangerously. Aria flinched but didn't run. That made it worse. So much worse. Kael fled the forest like a hunted animal, stumbling back toward the palace with the bond clawing at him. He shifted mid-run, desperate to outrun fate, his wolf panting and limping. The moment he reached the palace steps, his beta rushed toward him. "Alpha, your aura, are you injured?" "Stay away," Kael snarled. The air around him crackled with unstable energy. Servants scattered. Warriors bowed their heads low, careful not to breathe too loudly. Kael locked himself inside his chamber, chest heaving, hands trembling violently. He could still feel her fear, her confusion, her soft, fragile heartbeat. He pressed his palms to his temples, growling in frustration. "No, I will not do this again. I will not bury another mate." But the bond didn't care. It pulsed, it tugged, it screamed for her. Over the next day, Kael refused all council meetings. He barked orders with no explanations. He snapped at anyone who spoke near him. His wolf prowled inside him, demanding he return to the girl. His aura became chaotic, dangerous enough to make guards faint. The palace trembled under his instability. Thunder rolled across the kingdom despite a cloudless sky. Everyone whispered, "The Alpha is losing control again." And they were right. He was unraveling. Because every time he tried to push her out of his mind, the bond slammed back 10 times stronger. That night, Kael woke with a jolt. Sweat clung to his skin. His heart pounded wildly. He felt her again, not physically, but in a way deeper than touch. Her loneliness, her exhaustion, the ache in her chest. The bond echoed it all. His wolf howled inside him. "Go to her. She needs us." "No," Kael growled into the darkness. "I will not kill her. I will not let fate use me as its weapon again." But even as he said the words, he found himself walking toward the forest entrance, drawn by a force more powerful than his curse. He gritted his teeth, gripping a tree to stop himself from stepping forward. "Damn the goddess," he hissed. "Damn this bond. Damn everything." He slammed his hand against the trunk until his knuckles split. His voice cracked, the most vulnerable it had been in years. "I want her. he whispered, voice breaking. And that is exactly why she must stay far away from me. Kael collapsed to his knees, breath shaking. His thoughts spiraled between rage and longing. If I go to her, she dies. If I stay away, the bond tears us both apart. Why did the goddess do this to me? Why her? Why now? I cannot lose another. I will not survive it. He blamed the goddess. He blamed fate. He blamed destiny. But he blamed himself most of all, because the truth he couldn't admit, not yet, was that he felt something the moment he looked into her eyes. Not love, but the beginning of it. And beginnings were the most dangerous thing of all. Aria barely slept. Her dreams were filled with golden eyes, cracks of lightning, the sound of a man's voice begging fate to let her go. She woke breathless, fingers trembling over the mark on her shoulder. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Like his heartbeat. She didn't understand it, but she couldn't deny it. Something inside her had been awakened the moment she saw that monstrous broken wolf in the forest. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something terrifying. By morning, whispers had already spread. The Alpha's aura was unstable again last night. Servants heard him raging in the halls. The forest trembled. He must have been there. Aria pulled her shawl tighter, dread pooling in her stomach. She wanted to forget the encounter. Forget the pain on his face. Forget the way her soul had leapt toward his against her will. But the forest had burned the truth into her. He wasn't just any Alpha. He was hers. Aria wandered toward the palace courtyard, hoping to steady her thoughts. But two palace healers passed nearby, speaking in hushed, fearful tones. Did you hear? The curse reacted again. To what? To a bond. Aria froze. A bond. She stepped behind a column, breath trembling. The Alpha tried to reject it, one healer whispered, but the goddess forced it open, she always does. Then the girl, whoever she is, she's doomed. Aria's knees weakened, her stomach twisted. Doomed? Because of him? Because of her? She pressed a hand over her chest, trying to steady her heartbeat. The healers continued. He only loses control when the bond awakens. His emotions trigger the curse. That poor girl. May the goddess spare her soul. Aria stumbled away before they could say more. She didn't want to hear it. She didn't want to believe it. But her heart whispered a painful truth. She was the girl. Returning to the small room given to refugees, Aria tore her shawl off, staring at the mark glowing beneath her skin. It blazed violently, pulsing in sync with her rising panic. What do you want from me? She whispered to the moonlight. What am I supposed to do? The mark pulsed again. A response, a warning, a calling. She remembered the Alpha's words. If I care for you, even for a moment, this curse will take you. Her breath hitched. So that was why he told her to run, why he looked at her with agony instead of anger, why he recoiled like she was poison. He wasn't protecting himself. He was trying to protect her. She sank to her knees. A mate bond. A curse tied to love. A kingdom frozen because its king refused to feel. And her, a simple omega, standing at the center of it all. Later that evening, Aria wandered into the village outside the palace walls, seeking answers. She overheard shopkeepers, mothers, warriors, all speaking of the same thing. How long can our land survive without the blessing of the moon goddess? The crops fail each winter. Our Alpha carries a curse that affects us all. We pay the price for a broken heart. Shadowcrest will crumble if the Alpha never loves again. Aria's heart ached at their pain. She didn't understand why the goddess had tied their fate to a man's heart, but she felt the truth deep within her bones. Kael's heart wasn't dead. It was locked. And the key was her. The mark burned hotter. She gasped. "No, I can't be," she whispered. "I'm not strong enough. I'm not special. I'm not anything." But fate didn't care. Destiny rarely asked permission. Fear wrapped its hands around Aria's throat. If she stayed, she would die. If the Alpha fell in love with her, even by accident, the curse would kill her, like it killed the woman before her. She couldn't let that happen. She couldn't destroy him. She couldn't be the reason a kingdom lost all hope. So Aria gathered her torn pack, wrapped her trembling fingers around the strap, and slipped out of the palace under the cover of darkness. The forest loomed ahead, terrifying but safer than being anywhere near him. "I have to leave," she whispered. "For him, for me, for everyone." But she didn't get far. The moment her foot crossed into the forest path, a violent gust of wind tore through the trees. Branches snapped, leaves scattered. A low, earth-shaking growl rolled through the darkness. Aria froze. Two glowing silver eyes appeared between the trees. Her heart dropped. "Kael," she whispered. His wolf emerged from the shadows like a creature forged from nightmares, massive, furious, trembling with a storm of emotion he could no longer contain. He stalked toward her, fur bristling. Breath heavy, eyes filled with desperation, she stumbled backward. I was just... He roared, shaking the ground beneath her feet. "No!" His voice thundered through her mind like a command from the heavens. "You do not leave me." Aria trembled. "You said I should run." His wolf lowered his head, eyes burning with a mixture of pain and fury. "I lied." He stepped closer, breath ghosting over her face. "The bond will kill us both if you run from me." Aria's vision blurred with tears. "I'm trying to save you," she whispered. Kael's wolf circled her protectively, blocking every escape path. "And I am trying to save you." The bond pulsed between them, fierce and undeniable. Two souls, one cursed, one chosen, and a fate neither could escape. The night Aria tried to flee, the forest didn't just awaken Kael, it awakened her. Deep in the mountains beyond Shadowcrest, a blackened altar pulsed once, a heartbeat of dark magic, and a woman's eyes snapped open. Seraphine, the witch whose jealousy once drowned a kingdom in blood, the woman who loved Kael and was denied, the one who cursed him so that any heart he opened would die screaming. Her lips curved into a smile that could freeze rivers. "So," she whispered, running her fingers over a crystal pool reflecting the forest. "A new bond has formed." The water shimmered, revealing Aria, confused, trembling, marked. Seraphine's smile vanished. "No, not her. Not this Omega nobody." She clenched her fist, and the water exploded into ripples. "You were never meant to have a mate again, Kael." Her voice twisted into a snarl. "I made sure of it." Seraphine was not just a witch. She was the goddess's rejected daughter, born with power, but no destiny, no purpose. She craved worship. She craved crowns. She craved Kael's heart, but Kael never chose her. He chose a different woman long ago. One Seraphine killed. One Seraphine swore would be the last. "I will not allow another Omega to take what should have been mine." Dark magic hissed around her, forming tendrils of shadow. She lifted her hands to the moon and murmured, "Let the curse awaken again." Lightning cracked the sky. Seraphine vanished. Meanwhile, inside Shadowcrest Palace, Aria was escorted back by Kael's wolf. He didn't leave her side. He didn't trust himself, he didn't trust fate. But he trusted something even less. The unease crawling through his kingdom. His beta approached him that night, eyes wide. "Alpha, we found something." Kael turned, voice cold. "What?" His beta held out a torn strip of black silk, stitched with ancient runes. Kael froze. He recognized them immediately. Witchcraft, forbidden magic, Seraphine's signature. "She's here," Kael growled, eyes flashing dangerously. She felt the bond. Aria's breath hitched. Who is she? Kael's jaw clenched. The witch who cursed me. His eyes hardened. And she will try to kill you. Aria stepped back unconsciously. Kael's wolf surged inside him, furious, protective. Don't run, he warned softly. It will only make her find you faster. Shadowcrest had faced raids, wars, monsters, but nothing prepared them for Seraphine's wrath. That night, the sky turned black. The moon dimmed unnaturally. Wolves howled in pain from unseen attacks. The river turned to mist. Fires erupted without spark. An entire patrol vanished without a trace. Aria clung to the window, fear twisting her stomach. What is happening? She whispered. Kael stormed into her room, eyes burning silver, aura shaking the walls. She's attacking the kingdom. Why me? Aria whispered, trembling. Kael's voice softened for the first time. Because you can free me. Aria's throat tightened. And she wants the curse to remain? Kael nodded once, expression dark. She wants my throne, my kingdom, my soul. Always has. His gaze locked with hers, fierce and protective. And she will kill anyone who stands in her way, especially you. Suddenly, a shriek tore through the palace. A servant burst into Kael's room, pale, shaking violently. Alpha! She's in the palace! Another ear-splitting scream echoed. Aria flinched. Kael moved instantly, shifting midair, his massive wolf crashing into the hallway. Stay behind me, he roared into her mind, but he wasn't fast enough. A shadow formed at the end of the hall. A woman stepped out, beautiful, terrifying, with raven hair flowing like ink and eyes glowing red. Seraphine. Her voice was silk-dipped in poison. So this is the pathetic little Omega, she sneered, the one who dares claim what's mine. She lifted a hand, magic crackling like lightning. Aria gasped as her lungs tightened, her knees buckling. The witch was choking her from across the hall. Kael's roar shook the palace. He lunged, fangs bared, claws shredding the marble beneath him. But Seraphine vanished in black smoke just before he reached her. Her laughter echoed through the halls. You cannot protect her, Kael. The curse belongs to me. A whisper. A threat. And she will die before she breaks it. Kael stood trembling, chest heaving, eyes blazing with a fury Aria had never seen. This time, the fear in his eyes wasn't for himself. It was for her. The attack came without warning. One moment Aria was in the palace library, trying to steady her thoughts. The next, a violent wave of magic slammed into the walls, shattering, windows sending bookshelves crashing to the floor. Aria stumbled, barely catching her sluff before falling. Screams echoed from outside the palace. Wolves howled in agony. Dark smoke slithered beneath the door, whispering her name. Seraphine. Aria's heart lurched. She backed away, but the smoke gathered, shaping itself into tendrils that struck like snakes. Before she could scream, a shard of dark magic tore across her shoulder, slicing into her skin like glass. Aria cried out and collapsed. Blood pooled beneath her. The mark on her shoulder pulsed violently, reacting to the injury, reacting to Kael. Across the palace, Kael sank to his knees, clutching his chest. It felt like fire ripped through his shoulder. His beta rushed to him. Alpha, what's happening? Kael's eyes snapped open, blazing silver. She's hurt. The words weren't spoken. They tore through the air, fueled by pure instinct. He didn't shift, he didn't run. He erupted into his wolf form, the transformation violent and uncontrolled. Bones cracked, fur burst through skin. His aura exploded outward, shattering stone. Warriors dove out of the way as the feral alpha launched himself down the halls, snarling like a wounded god. The bond dragged him like a chain, pulling him toward his mate, toward Aria, toward danger. The smoke hardened into a silhouette. Seraphine herself materializing in the library doorway. Her smile was cold. "Did you think you could run from me, little Omega?" Aria tried to crawl back, but blood trickled down her arm and her vision blurred. "You can break the curse," Seraphine hissed, raising her hand. "And I will not allow that." Her magic surged forward, but the library doors exploded. Wood splinters flew like arrows. Kael's massive wolf crashed through the doorway in a blur of rage and claws, snarling with a fury so violent the air cracked like lightning. He lunged at Seraphine, jaws snapping inches from her throat. She dissolved into smoke, reappearing on the balcony. "Shh! Always so predictable, Kael." Kael didn't hear her. He only heard Aria's weak breath, only smelled her blood, only saw her trembling on the floor. His wolf turned to her, whimpering. Actually whimpering, as he nosed her wounded shoulder. Aria lifted a shaking hand to his fur. "You came." His wolf pressed his forehead against hers, breath trembling, aura surging with barely controlled fury. Seraphine's laughter echoed around them. "Touching. Truly. But each moment you care for her, the curse tightens." Kael snapped. Not with anger. With absolute primal terror, he shifted back, violently, landing on hands and knees beside Aria, chest heaving. His voice was raw, shaking, drenched in panic. "Aria, look at me. Stay awake." She blinked slowly. I tried to run." He grabbed her hand, pressing it to his chest. You should have. You should have stayed away from me." His voice cracked. "But the thought of you gone..." He broke off, choking on a breath. Aria stared at him, stunned. No one had ever heard the Alpha King sound afraid. Not until now. Kael cupped her face with trembling hands, ignoring the blood staining his fingers. "I cannot lose you," he whispered, voice breaking. "Do you hear me? I cannot." Aria's heart pounded. "Kael." His eyes blazed with a mixture of fury, fear, and something deeper, something forbidden. "You are." His breath shuddered. "You are mine." The words slipped out like a prayer, like a surrender, like a death sentence. Aria's lips parted in shock. The bond surged so violently that the floor cracked beneath them. A blast of golden energy exploded from their chests, rippling through the palace like a shockwave. And then, Kael screamed. He clutched his heart, body arching in pain. Dark veins crawled across his skin. His aura flickered erratically. Blood dripped from his nose. "Kael!" Aria cried, trying to sit up. He fell to one knee, gasping, vision dimming. Seraphine's voice echoed from the shadows. "Foolish Alpha. You broke your vow." Her laughter cut through the room. "You let yourself care." Kael's body trembled violently, on the brink of collapse. The curse constricted around his heart like a serpent. He looked up at Aria with fading eyes. "I told you." He coughed, blood staining his lips. "Loving me is fatal." "Kael, stop, please. I think..." he whispered, collapsing forward into her arms. "I'm dying." Aria's scream tore through the palace, raw and heartbreaking. And in that moment, the kingdom felt their alpha falling. The goddess felt destiny tipping, and Seraphine smiled, whispering, "Let him die. Then the throne is mine." Kael lay in Aria's arms, breathing shallow and ragged. The curse tightened around his heart like thorns of black iron. His skin turned pale, his veins darkened. His pulse faded. "Kael, stay with me," Aria whispered, tears staining his cheeks. He forced a broken smile. "You shouldn't cry for me, little Omega. I told you what happens when I feel." His body convulsed again. Aria screamed for help, but the palace healers could not enter. The doors had sealed shut with the curse's final stage. They were trapped, alone, his dying body in her trembling lap. Aria pressed her forehead to his. "There must be a way," she cried. "There has to be something, anything." The mark on her shoulder ignited. A voice whispered in her ear, soft, ancient, divine. "There is a way." Aria gasped as the room dissolved into silver light. She found herself standing before the moon goddess. The goddess's hair flowed like starlight, her eyes bright and mournful. "You carry the bond I hid," she said softly. "You carry the love I denied him." Aria's voice trembled. "Please tell me how to save him." The goddess raised her hand and the curse appeared between them as a swirling black vortex. "It was born from a broken heart, and only love can end it." Aria swallowed. "What must I do?" The goddess stepped closer, her voice heavy. "Two choices exist." Silver light formed two visions before Aria's eyes. Aria saw herself standing on the altar of fate, her mark glowing, her life essence pouring into Kael. She saw him breathe again, see him healed, while she collapsed lifeless beside him. "If you willingly give your life," the goddess whispered, "the curse will break." Aria's breath hitched. She saw Kael waking to her lifeless body, saw him screaming, saw him fall to his knees and break. Her heart shredded, but she nodded. "If it saves him, I will give everything." The second vision formed. Kael stood before the goddess, aura blazing, demanding the bond be accepted beneath divine law. "If he confronts me," the goddess said quietly, "and admits he loves you, and surrenders his life, the curse will end, but he will not survive the confrontation." Aria's legs shook. "So one of us must die," she whispered. The goddess's eyes glistened. "Love is always a choice, child, and the deepest love often demands the highest price." The visions faded. Aria stood trembling before the goddess. "I choose." Silver light swallowed her before she finished speaking. Aria fell to her knees beside Kael's motionless body. He weakly opened his eyes. "Aria, don't look at me like that." She brushed his hair back, tears falling onto his skin. "There's a way, Kael," she whispered. "But it will cost everything." He studied her face, understanding instantly. "No," he rasped. "You will not sacrifice yourself for me." She cupped his cheek. "I won't let you die." "And I won't let you die," he whispered fiercely. Their foreheads pressed together, two hearts choosing death for the other, two souls refusing life without the other. The goddess's power stirred around them. Recognizing their choice, recognizing true devotion, Aria placed her hand over her mark. "I offer my life," she whispered. Kael grabbed her wrist with the last strength he had. "And I offer mine." Light burst around them, golden, blinding, consuming. Aria clung to him. Kael held her tighter despite his fading strength. Their voices overlapped in one final vow. "I choose you, even in death," and the curse, the ancient, cruel, jealous curse, screamed, shattered, exploded into dust. The goddess's voice echoed through the light. "A love willing to die is a love worthy of life." Kael gasped. Aria collapsed. For one terrifying moment, neither moved. Silence. Then, Kael's chest rose. Aria's fingers twitched. Light wrapped around them, healing, restoring, binding them without pain. Kael sat up, eyes wide, breath frantic. "Aria, Aria." Her eyes fluttered open. He pulled her into his arms with a sob he had buried for years. "You foolish, brave, beautiful girl," he whispered. "You would die for me." Her tears soaked his shirt. "You would die for me." He held her tighter, voice breaking. "I would die 1,000 times if it meant keeping you alive." The bond pulsed between them, no longer painful, no longer cursed, just pure, overwhelming, undeniable love. Kael kissed her forehead softly. "You are mine," he whispered, "and I am yours." Destiny had claimed its victory. Love had saved them both. Light faded slowly, like the final breath of a storm. When it cleared, Kael found himself kneeling in the center of the throne room, Aria cradled protectively in his arms. She breathed. Shallow, fragile, but alive. His eyes widened, a sound escaping him that no one had heard before, a soft, broken laugh mixed with a sob. "Aria," he whispered, brushing her cheek. "You're alive." Her eyes fluttered open. "Kael." He pulled her to his chest, burying his face in her hair, the bond glowing warm and gentle between them. The curse was gone. He felt it, like a weight ripped from his soul. For the first time in years, he could breathe without pain. Silver mist gathered, swirling into a glowing figure. The moon goddess stepped forward, her expression soft, almost proud. "Alpha Kael," she said, "your heart has been restored." Kael rose slowly, still holding Aria's hand. "Why?" he asked, voice raw. "After everything, why give me another chance?" The goddess smiled. "Because even in death you chose love. And love chosen freely is more powerful than any curse." She turned to Aria. "And you, child of destiny, your soul anchored his. Your sacrifice shattered what hatred built." Aria lowered her head, overwhelmed. The goddess touched her shoulder and the mark glowed softly. No longer burning, but comforting. "You will carry his heart," the goddess whispered, "and he will carry yours." With a final shimmer of moonlight, she vanished. A cold wind swept through the hall as Seraphine staggered into view. Her power flickered like dying embers. Her beauty cracked like fading porcelain. "No," she gasped. "You broke it. The curse, my curse, it's gone." Kael stepped forward, eyes no longer cold but resolute. "You wanted a kingdom built on pain." His voice echoed with newfound strength. "But your era ends tonight." Seraphine screamed, striking out with the last of her magic. But it fizzled uselessly. The goddess had stripped her power. Aria stepped beside Kael, calm and unafraid. Seraphine's eyes widened as palace warriors surrounded her. "You will never harm this land again," Kael declared. The witch was taken away. Not killed, but imprisoned in the silent mountains. A fate worse than death. Shadowcrest finally breathed again. In the following days, a miracle unfolded through the kingdom. The river's flow returned. The crops brightened. The wolves' strength restored. The palace halls no longer trembled with Kael's unstable aura. He moved through his kingdom differently, slower, softer, seeing what he had ignored for years. Children no longer hid from him. Warriors greeted him with smiles instead of bowed heads. The people whispered, "Our Alpha has finally healed." And always, always, Aria walked at his side. Her presence steadied him. Her laughter warmed him. Her courage humbled him. He would never forget what she had given up to save him. One evening, beneath a silver moon, Kael led Aria to the highest balcony overlooking the kingdom. The stars glittered like spilled diamonds. He took her hands gently, so gently it made her breath catch. "Aria," he whispered, voice trembling not with fear, but with love. "I once swore that my heart died with my first mate." He lifted her hand to his chest, letting her feel the steady, strong beat beneath it. "But you brought it back." Her eyes shone with tears as he continued. "You melt the ice inside me. You calm the storms in me. You risked your life to save mine." His voice softened, raw with truth. "You are the reason I live, and I will spend my life cherishing you." Aria stepped closer, placing her forehead against his. "And you are the home I never thought I'd find," she whispered. Kael cupped her face, brushing a thumb over her cheek. "Aria," he said gently, "I vowed never to love, His voice softened to a breath. Until I met you. And under the moon's blessing, he finally kissed her. Not with desperation, not with fear, but with a love strong enough to break curses and rewrite destiny.